Hey guys, welcome back to Stav's channel. She equips herself. I have hijacked her camera and her system here to just bring some information to you. This is a topic I've wanted to bring to you guys for a while. Stav's recent series on 12 days of carry kind of brought it back to something I was thinking about and what I wanted to get across from you, what I wanted to get across to you. And that's basically how to transition from your concealed carry firearm to your home defense firearm, if a transition is worth it to you, if that's something that you find valuable. Having a concealed carry firearm on your body is a great thing, and having it on you all the time is a great thing. But a lot of people don't carry when they're in their home. Generally, I don't. Generally, Stav doesn't. We have different firearms we use for home defense than we do for concealed carry. And generally speaking, I find that a lot of people do that. I don't know, there's only a handful of people I can think of that actually carry that firearm on their body all day long, and then when they're home, and then only take it off when they're going to bed. I think that most people kind of come into their house and generally disarm. They don't want to carry that. Now that firearm, that exact firearm that you carry, may be your home defense firearm as well. Or because you carry a smaller firearm, and you do that for comfort and for concealment throughout the day, maybe you want a larger and more capable firearm as your home defense primary or secondary weapon. So that's what we're going to basically be talking about today, is what that transition basically should look like for your own knowledge and safety and capability. So let's just kind of jump off right at the beginning and go into what Stav is actively carrying right now. Stav's primary carry firearm, by the way, all of the firearms I'm going to show you today are empty. It's just that I've already done, you got a bunch of them, so we're going to. This is the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. Right? It is a fantastic little tiny firearm. It actually, even though my hands are pretty large, even with the 10-shot magazine, it actually fits in my hand pretty well. I do have to still worry about not shooting the tip of my thumb off, or at least burning it, but it actually fits even on a two-hand grip. It's a great little gun, and it's proven to be such a good gun that Stav got rid of her Glock 42 and transitioned to this. That's fine. It is a 380. She likes carrying it. It's super light. It's super small. It fits on her body or in any bag that she carries. And ever since we've got into this gun, we can't say enough good things about it. It seems to be super reliable so far. We have two of them, and we've only had one malfunction between the two, and it was when it was brand new, not even getting broken in. Since then, we've had zero malfunctions. So we're happy with it. Yeah, so that's basically what Stav has chosen to carry. Now, the capability of this firearm is not terrible, but it's a 380, and some of you, I know, have strong opinions on 380 versus 9mm. But the biggest reason Stav carries this gun, the number one reason, is it's super small, super light, super easy to conceal, while at the same time she shoots it very well and she feels good about having it on her. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Zero. I'm totally good with that. Everyone should be good with that. But when she comes home and she takes this off, and concealment no longer matters, and Stav being a very capable shooter, she would prefer, and I would basically prefer her as well, to carry a 9mm or above. So the real easy transition for Stav is to go right back to what her firearm was before, empty so you all know, before we switched her to the Glock 42, if you remember that, and then the Bodyguard, the Smith & Wesson Shield. This has been a primary carry gun for Stav for many, many years. It's an excellent firearm. It's a 10-shot 10-shot 9mm. It's a little bit, I lose the pinky there, but Stav does not. But it's an excellent, excellent little firearm. Now, the nice thing about that is you can also have a 13-round magazine, and now that my pinky can get on there, and brand new from Smith & Wesson, as in like the last year, you can have a 15-shot magazine. So now that's going to be off the bottom a little bit. So now, that is an excellent addition to the Bodyguard. So this would be, now, you could carry this all the time and also use it for home defense. But for Stav, now we have the Bodyguard as her primary carry and the Shield as her primary home defense. And what you could see is if you look at the triggers, they're basically the same. If you look at where the slide stop is, it's basically the same. the takedown levers, the grip angles are the same. If you look at the sights, you look at the rear sights, they're very, very similar. If you look at the front sights, I'll try to do this without pointing these guns at myself. They're very, very similar. So you have basically almost the exact same gun, really, really close, almost the exact same trigger pull, almost the exact same trigger movement. They're very, very close. One's smaller and lighter than the other. And that's very, very important under a high stress situation. I'm sure that everybody who's watching this video can remember a time where you jumped into a vehicle that you don't drive every single day and you found out that the gas pedal feels a little bit different than your vehicle, the brake might feel a little different. I drive basically 4 cars. There's 4 different vehicles that I drive on any particular day. We have a van, we have a pickup truck, and then at work I drive 2 different Ford SUV Interceptors. I think that's what the police call them. They used to be Explorers, but there's 2 of those, one or the other. I never know which one I'm driving until I come in. But that's 4 different gas pedals, 4 different braking systems, and because I do it all the time, I can do it relatively seamlessly, but I will still notice a slight difference in the gas and the brake from when I go from one to the other. If you could take that mindset and understand that every gun's a little bit different. They feel a little bit different in your hand. The recoil impulse is a little bit different. The amount of movement you have to move that trigger to reset before each shot is a little bit different. When you bring that gun up, the angle that it's at and how your eye catches the sight is a little bit different. Every gun's a little bit different. So if you have more than one firearm and you train with more than one firearm, it's really important that you're very consistent from one firearm to the other when it comes to defensive situations because of the enormous amount of stress that's going to be on your body under a high stress situation. So like a home invasion or some type of self-defense situation. So keeping things consistent as possible is a really, really good idea. Let me add another firearm into the mix that I can't be happier with, by the way. This is the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus Carry Comp. Now, the reason why I like this gun so much is not because of the compensator. I have found that the compensator does next to nothing in my hands. I have not noticed much of a difference. You might. I've shot every load that I can think of out of this to try to compare it to the normal shield, and I can barely tell the difference. I don't even know if it's psychosomatic at this point, but it's so minor that it could be just me wanting it to feel better in my hand. But everything about this gun, other than the compensator, is fantastic. The sights are the best sights I've ever seen on a shield. They are just fantastic. That front sight pops like amazing. It's the best rear sight I've ever seen. I don't know if you can actually see it, but it's fantastic. And it's just basically very similar to this guy, but a slight upgrade. Takes the exact same magazines, so you can do the 10, the 13, the 15, and it's just got that compensator on it as well. So this would not be another perfect addition if you carried a shield as your standard carry gun and you wanted another shield or just something for home defense. Boom, there you can go to the carry comp, and then you can do that. If you carried a bodyguard and you wanted a home defense weapon, you can go right to the Shield Plus Carry Comp, or you can just go right to a shield. Either way, all 3 of these guns are very consistent with each other, and that's very good, very important. Let me give you some, for instances, on things you don't want to do. Like the 1911. I love the 1911. I mean, I think that the 1911 was designed so great at the very beginning of its time. It is a fantastic firearm. A lot of people really like it. Now, the reason why I bring up 1911 and why I talk about it is because I was on a SWAT team from, I would say, 2006 to 2012. It was a regional SWAT team, and the guys came from like 56 separate police departments, and we all trained together. We responded to any one of those 56 communities whenever they were needed. So we all had different handguns. We all basically had AR rifles, so that was consistent across the board, but we all had, to the most part, different handguns that were issued by our police department. And what the SWAT team wanted to do is they wanted to have a SWAT handgun, a handgun for all of the SWAT team members, so we all had the same handgun on every call as well. And the 1911 was where everybody wanted to go. It's at the time, it was just, we were training with LAPD SWAT at the time. They were all carrying 1911s. I think they were Kimbers at the time, and we just, yeah, the guys that were in charge loved the 1911. So some of the guys started to transition to the 1911 because they had permission from their own police department to carry these things. And what I saw right off the bat, and what I knew was coming, but I was too young to say anything out loud, and I didn't want to upset anybody, was this gun is dramatically different than like a Smith & Wesson M&P or a Glock or a SIG or whatever. It has a safety here that you have to know how to play with, and it has a safety here. And if you don't get both of those right, the gun does not go bang. All right, and that's really great as far as safety goes, but when you're training with like nothing but a striker fired weapon, this can get you killed and this can get you killed. And I watched people constantly come out of the holster, gut on target, forget to push the safety down, try to fire, and then you'd see them manipulate it, or their grip was not perfect enough to disengage the grip safety. They didn't push in enough and the gun wouldn't fire. And I watched people screw this up numerous times, like enough where I will never forget it. And it was just a perfect example of transitioning from one gun to another gun and it not working out because those officers were all carrying Glocks and SIGs and Smiths on duty, and that was what they kind of knew and enjoyed. And now they wanted the 1911 because that was the newest, coolest thing, but it was a very bad idea to switch like that. And luckily, it didn't really work out, and we never switched to 1911s, but I would have expected us to have a lot of problems if the whole team switched, because some of the guys that were switching were our higher echelon shooters, and they were having problems. Just because the manual arms, everything was different. There was extra things you had to do that you didn't have to do with your duty gun that you've been carrying for years. So don't do that. Be very, very consistent. This would be another example of something not to do. All right, this is a fantastic home defense weapon. It's a Glock 34. It's got the light on it. It's got the red dot on it. Like, this is fantastic. The difference is this compared to, using a red dot compared to just using sights. You're changing things. And when we had the Glock 42s, we each had a Glock 34 for home defense because the Glock 42 matched up well to the Glock 34. Now that we've switched to bodyguards, I could pimp this out and make it everything that I wanted it to do. But training your eye to look for a front sight versus training your eye to find a red dot are two different things. That inconsistency can cause problems under high stress. So think about all that. If you're a revolver person, and I love revolvers, I shoot semi-automatics for work essentially, and maybe self-defense. Like I shoot them for as a reason to stay capable, not for fun, generally speaking. When I shoot for fun, I always like to shoot revolver. Not always, but for the most part. So if I were to carry this detective, this is actually a Cobra. This would be a fantastic, I love this gun. I would carry this no problem. I like it a lot. But I probably wouldn't use it for home defense. I would probably use something like this for home defense. I'd want the 357 Magnum. This is a Python. This is where I would go for home defense. If I didn't go there, I would go here. And this is another Python. Because the trigger pulls on Colts are very similar. The Pythons are the best, but they're very, very similar in how they feel. Stav recently did a video on a 332, a 32 H&R Smith & Wesson 32 H&R Magnum revolver. That was great. If that should be your carry gun, then you have a lot of options with Smith & Wesson revolvers. All right, this is a Model 64. It's a 38 Special. Fantastic gun. Stav's owned this for years. She loves shooting it, and she's extremely good with it. But we have a 4-inch barrel. That's really good. One of my absolute favorite home defense firearms would be a 357 Magnum. This is the 686 Plus, so it's a 7-shot revolver. And that is absolutely fantastic. Very similar trigger pull to the 32 H&R Magnum that Stav was using. And we also have a Model 19 Carry Comp. This one has the compensator, and you actually can feel the difference with this compensator. The 9mm Shield Plus Carry Comp, I don't even know if I can tell a difference, but with the 357 Magnum, that thing is so much faster and has so much more snap to it. You can feel the difference with a compensator on that. This is the Model 19 Carry Comp. Excellent little home defense revolver right there. Something like that. The point is, be consistent. Try to stay the same way as you possibly can, and you'll have a much better benefit from that. So, handguns for home defense are not a terrible option, but you will be better off with a long gun of some type, all right? Your chances of hitting the target increase when you have a long gun. When you have a handgun and you have an even grip with two hands, there's a lot of movement here. You can flinch really easy, you can go left, you can go right. If you sight in on a bad guy and he kind of points something at you and you kind of flinch, you can lose the capability of hitting that target super fast. If you look up the percentage of hits that occur versus misses in real gunfights, you'll be blown away at how terrible handguns are in people's hands under high stress situations. We generally miss 8 out of 10 shots in real gunfights, and that's with handguns. Right? Long guns are always better. They're nowhere near as easy to have around. They're a little bit cumbersome, but a long gun is a much better choice if you actually have to use a firearm to defend yourself or your family or something like that. So even though I'm talking mostly about handguns right now, I would always recommend that you have a long gun for your actual, like, known bad guy situations. The handguns are super easy because they're small, they're light, they're very easy to have around you. But if you're pretty certain that this is not just a funny noise that you're just kind of thinking and listening about, and you're real certain this is an actual bad guy, I would say you have that handgun in your hand only as long as it takes for you to get a long gun. And then that becomes a transition situation. So long guns are absolutely, in my opinion, better. Let me just give you a quick example of why they're so much better. I'll just take Stav's shotgun. This is a 1187, but it is the youth model. It has a much shorter stock, right? When I have this shotgun, it's hitting my shoulder right here. There's one. Okay, there's one point of contact. I have my dominant hand, I have my non-dominant hand, and then I have my cheek. So I have 4 points of contact on this firearm. Right? If I'm holding this tight to my body and I'm right in here, it's much harder to pull it completely off the bad guy. I'm basically on it, and if I have to hit the bad guy, the movement of me flinching completely off the bad guy is much further. So I'm way more likely to hit the target with a long gun. I'm also more likely to do more damage. Right? So a 20 gauge shotgun, which is what I just showed you, is going to do far and away more damage than basically any handgun. So I'm going to need to shoot less. I'm more likely to hit him, and I'm more likely to only have to hit him once, which is great, because if you're defending your family, I don't really think that the sound of a full-fledged dynamic gunfight is beneficial to their mental capabilities for the rest of their life. One bang in the night is probably easier for them to kind of overcome than a running gunfight. So that's a good thing. So that 1187 youth shotgun is one of our primary home defense weapons, and we like that. If you're a rifle person, you know, having an AR style rifle is great. This is difficult now in my state, but in your state it's probably still legal. That's also another, you know, fantastic firearm for home defense, for self-defense. One thing I will tell you about rifles indoors are you'll never forget that noise. It is loud, 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 loud. Crazy loud. But that may or may not matter to you. You might think a 20 gauge shotgun and an AR style rifle have the same noise, but they don't. The AR is louder and snappier indoors, especially. So you might shy away from that for a fear of causing hearing damage, or even just kind of disorienting yourself during a high stress situation. But it is a fantastic choice, minus the sound. So one other choice that might be good is this is a 9mm version of an AR, and it takes Glock magazines. Something like that, a pistol carbine. That would be very good. You get the benefit of more likely hitting the target. You get the benefit of it being quiet. It's going to be quieter than a 9mm pistol because all that barrel absorbs noise, so it's going to be quieter than any 9mm pistol you own. And it's probably interchangeable magazine width. You know, you can get so many different kinds of these pistol caliber carbines that you may have a handgun that has the same magazines, and that might be a good thing. So you're more likely to hit the bad guy. Your bullets are going to do basically the same amount of damage, maybe a hair more, but it's negligible. But the sound is not so bad. And then, you know, there's always the option of just having something very simple This is an over and under 20 gauge shotgun. You could have this barrel. This is a 26 or 28 inch barrel. You could have it as short as 18 inches and still be legal. And that's just super simple because once the rounds are in there, all you got to do is just put it on safe and then bang, bang. That's it. You get 2 shots and you drop it on the ground if you have to and transition to your pistol. But hopefully 2 shots from 12 gauge or 20 gauge should be enough. So to me, the handguns, they are very important to have because they're so easy to have near you. But once you think you might really need a gun, I would transition to the long gun. But try to keep everything as consistent as you possibly can, because that will very much help you out under high stress. So that's basically it. Good luck out there. See you later. Bye-bye.